let's get into a little bit of talk about the game and characters so that we can get a little background here to what's going on and some context for people who may be new to the channel. Because we have, I'm seeing 17 people right now. So by the way, awesome. Thank you guys all for showing up. Now, when we started this game, as a preface, we decided not to play a typical Cyberpunk game, which is usually either gang members or edge runners doing missions. And since a couple of us, me, Sean, Jeff, and Nate, who's not here, are playing Shadowrun right now, we're like, let's not do a mission-based game because we're doing that in Shadowrun. So when people latch on to the idea of playing a band, we just decided to play out the exploits of the band as they try not to sell out and still deliver their message and all the drama that can come from that. So that's what we've been playing with. And the first thing I want to put to the players here, and it's unfortunate that Nate's not here, but we'll get to him at some point. When you guys made your characters to today, what's changed about them? So we'll start with let's start with Jeff. We're gonna go through the list here.
And just
start
with the Rocket Boy and go down.
So when I first made the character, it was definitely based around the hatred for Continental brands. And the reason being is in my background, Continental brands, my family basically was screwed over by them out of the company, forced into a combat zone, and then my parents, my twin brother, and my younger sister were all killed in that combat zone. Shortly after that happened is when we met with the band. Now, from that point to where we're at right now, I think the hatred for Continental has been solidified. Just by the constant stuff going on in the background stuff that Continental, like the guy looking for Z, the family that was working with Chet, that ended up becoming something that we wanted, that were coming after us, made it even more personal at that point. And then like that message has never changed. But what has changed is his hatred for pretty much all corporations has grown, just seeing how they're all interwoven. And how every corporation, even in real life, they're not about the people. No matter how much they say it, it's about the bottom line and the money. And it's never been more prevalent to Voxtone, short of watching it all unfold as we've been going through the game and the different corps that are being fingered and indicated that have taken part into this, or even unknowingly supplying something that has gone against us, against people we know, against people we care about type. Yeah, so there's been a lot of character growth. Vox has definitely become more jaded and more hateful towards the corporations, and I think closer with his bandmates because they really are the only family he has left. And the fact that he's brought in, that he looks at, damn it, what's her name? Our manager.
Oh,
Tyra,
and now Truman in, I think is a testament to his need to hold on to what he has, because since he was a kid, his family and everything, he's losing everything. The easiest way to not lose everything is to slowly pull in those who he identifies with.
Okay.
It's
what about
kind of a
Z?
defense mechanism, I would say.
So I'm not gonna lie, I started Z a little bit differently than I start pretty much any other character because Cyberpunk is so new to me. I have never played in any kind of Cyberpunk genre system before.
I will say on that really quick, to address the creation of the character and the backstory, as much as we bitched about it when we were making characters, the life path system, the random
really
rolls,
is helpful.
If you don't have any idea what's going on in the world, having a background that's created for you as you go through creation can be useful. Now, it's definitely a step better than the Cyberpunk 2020 life path was. That was ridiculous.
Yeah, that was crazy.
It was rough.
They cut the dice rolls in, I'd say, by about a third at least. So for people new to the system, the life path system, when you do random rolls, can be kind of cool. It's still not my favorite.
It can also be stupid.
But,
it can be very stupid.
But go on, Jess, I'm sorry. I just wanted to kind of bring that out there.
So I've never played anything in the Cyberpunk genre at all. And I was like, all right, what are the things that I know I can pull off and I'm good at when it comes to a tabletop game? I usually play the hacker.
You played Transhuman before. You played, Cyberpunk / Transhumanism. You played Altered Carbon before this.
I did play Altered Carbon, but I was a cop, which is vastly different than Z.
That's true.
Z is a hacktivist who wants to take down these corps because, much like Vox, her entire family fucking vanished. She's the only one left. So she's been looking at this band as her family and then finally getting to reach out to another human being or several human beings in the case of TNT, because I am the kind of player that sees that story and goes, well, what's that? That's a human story. That's something I'm good at. What's that? And I go and grab it. Z has changed an awful lot because technically she's supposed to be intellectual and detached. That's not a thing I am particularly good at playing most of the time. And I honestly think a lot of the stuff with TNT very much so humanized Z and brought a vulnerability to her that I didn't think was gonna be there. I was just gonna be the quiet one sitting in the back. You know, I was gonna be the wallflower of the game. And that's not entertaining for anybody. But I honestly think a lot of that changed a lot of Z, and now it's not just I'm out to get Continental and all these corps because they keep fucking up all of these people. Now it's a matter of you have taken what is mine, and I'm out to get you personally.
And I think it's interesting because that came to a head a little bit tonight with Max bringing up his points to the rest of the group, where Z went from being more distant and getting really heavily involved to where the loss of TNT was a personal loss. And the injuries to Truman were personal. And I think it's interesting because in my mind, as a GM, I saw Truman and Max reversed. Like, yeah. I saw Max more about family and getting stuff done, and then I've seen Max kind of a little slowly step back. And obviously, you know, Sean, we'll talk about that in a second. And I've seen in the flip side, Z get more and more personable about stuff that's been going on. So that's been an interesting, like, role flip in my head, like watching things play out.
It's weirdly the first time she's ever been people with people who are other than the band. She was like, she saw Yona, this mega fucking star, super fucking vulnerable, and chose in that moment, rather than being like, what the fuck, to be like, okay, all right, you're gonna be vulnerable with me, let me join you so you're not alone. And that's a lot of what Z's about, is you're not alone. So,
storyteller confession time. For the chat, people who have watched since, you know, our first episodes or have caught up on YouTube or just have been watching the story unfold between Slogans for Shirts and TNT. Original TNT was just supposed to be there to be an annoyance. And then when I had the chance to humanize them, I went for it full force. Because I figured, if I can get at least some of the band to like that band, and then murder them, we'd have a more interesting hook of loss and drama, which is where essentially season 1, you know, kind of went to. I wasn't planning for the last episode to be the end of season 1, but the dominoes lined up too perfectly for me to let it go. And I had to hit them all at once while they're perfectly aligned for me to do the things I wanted to do with it. So when Z started reaching out more to TNT, and when Polly and her sat down with the band while they're having drinks on Ground Zero's rooftop.
It was Max, not Polly.
It was Max.
That's right. Polly was with the bar.
I was lighting the bar on fire.
My bad.
Yeah, Polly was a bit busy with the Lizard King.
Yeah, the Lizard King, that's right. Lighting the bar on fire. I thought it was a good opportunity to get some more depth with some of the background characters, tie them to them, and see where the players would go in terms of these other characters, so that I could take them away at some painful moment in the future. Worked out perfectly. So,
yeah. And honestly, that all worked out very organically, as opposed to you putting pieces together.
Yeah,
kind of.
There was no plot hammer.
Right, all that where you dropped that bomb, where all that shit happened at the end of last session. That was all organic. That's just where that story was led to. So for you not to take advantage of that would have been a crying shame.
Yeah. So I saw my moment and I pounced on it. So it was kind of interesting, and I'm glad that Z reached out and actually had that growth with Truman and got closer and got to see that band as people, because otherwise, from a storyteller perspective, it would have been a problem on two fronts. One, these NPCs that were meant to be humanized and meant to come across as living, breathing individuals in the world would have just been static, two-dimensional characters, and that would have sucked. Two, their loss wouldn't have meant anything. You know, so it was important for me that somebody reached out, and I didn't want to force them. It was interesting that it was Z that did so, and I was very happy for that fact. Yeah.
You know, you can always rely on me for the emotional human connection.
It worked out. To that point where we saw the flip, Max. Sean, how has Max changed over the game, or has he?
He has. And when I originally kind of rolled through the life path for Max and kind of fleshed all of that out, he's a nomad. He was originally part of the Reclaimers, which they are kind of life on the road. They seek to move into like a deserted town or a city and rebuild it. And so Max was always kind of on the run, kind of living in the aftermath of all this bad shit that's happened in the world, all the aftermath of corp wars and all that stuff, like just the world laid to waste. And eventually that ended. Anytime he's been comfortable, it's kind of shit hits the fan and then he has to scatter and move. So the Reclaimers thing didn't work out. He ended up with the Snake Nation, luckily. And I envisioned him as using the band as a way to sort of connect with city life, I guess, but anonymously. He can kind of keep himself separated to where I can do this band thing. I can strike back and kind of take out my anger on the corporations for having lived the difficult childhood that I grew up in, but I can do so safely and anonymously. I can always retreat back if I want to, and I can kind of keep those things separated a little bit. And through the first chapter of the game, or the first season of the game, it was all about we're safely doing these things. Like we're always getting away. We're taking some risks, but we're doing so anonymously, and like we're scoring these wins, and everything is going okay. And it's interesting how different people and different characters react to tragedy. And I think that is kind of what the crux, I guess, of Z's current behavior and Max's current behavior, because something like that happens where it's real now. Like people that we knew that we were with, that we were kind of getting to know better and partnering up with, like they're dead, like they're done. And so that kind of changed Max, because he's like, well, this is real now. I've gotten way closer than I really ever set out to. And so that was kind of the purpose behind his kind of apprehensions with tonight's role play, with like, hey, we're getting real into the weeds and real personal here. And like from a personal character perspective, it's becoming harder and harder for Max to have that separation between this is my nomad identity and this is my band identity. Like the lines are getting really blurred, and he's losing his ability to be able to like retreat, because now there's people that he cares about in situations that he cares about, and his second family, this band, is getting more invested in all these other things that are going on. He's like, well, this is my family. I'm with these people like to the end. And he's just in like an uncomfortable position right now where it's like he doesn't have that safety net anymore.
Yeah, and I think that as the first season progressed, things got more dangerous for the band. Mm-hmm. Like you guys had you had Vox getting blown up alongside Tyra when the Wild Things were hired to kidnap her and him because of the Hall family. Then you guys had the run of Continental, which could have gone very, very badly if you guys hadn't, done what you did with the distraction and two go in front, the rest kind of, short shit up on the back. That could have gone very dirty, very, very, very dirty. And I think that it's kind of interesting to see, because now when you bring up this idea of Max trying to have a delineation between his family on the road and his band family, they're crossing over now. Like the band's doing stuff for the Snake Nation to help out. They were with you when you guys did the smuggling run. The band is also going to be there to do the Zeppelin, run. The band's going over to the Snake Nation to see about getting cyberware installed or get equipment. So there's a lot of bleed now for Max. And I think that may get harder for him to deal with, because they're going to shortly be one and the same. Yeah, because there's so much interplay between the two.
Yeah, and I go back to, and I'm looking at it right now on my sheet, like on my life path, where feelings about people, I stay neutral, and so I looked at that a lot. Like, okay, well, why would somebody stay like generally neutral about people? It's either they're maybe non-confrontational, don't want to get into any altercations. Well, that's not really Max. He knows how to handle himself in a fight. He can deal with conflict. He's okay with it. So where else could neutrality really come from, and that's sort of this ability to want to stay not really committed, not really sorry, I bumped my thing, not really.
I was like, who was that?
Yeah, no, that was I
was thinking it was me.
I'm sorry, I need to get like a shock mount or something. But neutrality, just in terms of like, I don't want to get too invested in too many people because I care, and when I care, that's split in too many different pieces, and I don't have enough to save everyone, essentially.
Right. And I think especially for you, Sean, as a role player, it's a huge difference between your Bali character and this guy. Like, it's
very
night and
much
day.
so. Yeah.
So it's interesting to see like both sides come out and play in that. And I think it's been interesting to watch, especially tonight, the role play you brought up with Max about, hey guys, we're getting a little too close to people. We need to fucking back off and let people handle their own shit. We can't get involved. And I immediately knew that Z was going to have some shit to say about that because she's in a relationship with Truman and her girlfriend just got fucked up by DMB. So I wanted to see where that went to, and I was like, all right, I got Truman and I have Tyra as comic relief if I need to ease tension here. But I didn't need to, because you guys actually talked it out very well. Because you know me, as a storyteller, I'm always looking for ways to manage tension at the table. And I don't want to get too high in levels that I think don't really need it.
Kind of to address that a little bit, this also, because we're a band, because we're that makeshift family because of circumstance, it's not like a lot of other games where it can devolve into us killing each other. That's never going to happen here.
Oh, no, I definitely...
So I think it worked itself out very organically because we all had our own points we're coming from. I'm the slow burn hate. Z was they fucked with Z was the vengeance angle. Max was the hey caution angle, and Polly was straight fact. Polly was like, listen, here's what's happening. This should be the recourse. We all had different areas we were coming from, and it was organic, and I thought it was a great scene. And,
definitely,
yeah.
I think that brings a very nice segue into Polly. Chris, Polly, when you made Polly originally, it was because the random rolls for Cyberpunk 2020 when we did a playtest. And you're like, you know what, this would be fun to play.
Absolutely, I'm like, I rolled.
Everything was random.
Half an hour to do the life path because I rolled so many siblings.
Yes,
and then I had to roll every single relationship, how they viewed. I mean, it was, and I'm like, I spent so much time invested in this, and really, I'm like, okay. So when we went over, I'm like, okay, so here's my 2020 sheet. How does it match up with the red life path? And I kind of got through all that.
So from where you originally made the character, like in terms of the life path, where it took you, like what mindset put you in, and where we were at the end of tonight's game, what's changed with Polly?
Okay, so starting out, you know, Polly's a rebellious, antisocial, loud, you know, destructive force. And as we started to play and we started fleshing out our inner band relationships in the fact that this is my second family and I'm the only one who still has my family, like my immediate family. I've got siblings, both my parents, you know, I mean, yeah, you know, Max has got the nation and everything, but like half of the money I'm making is going in getting them the fuck off the street. But now the band family is on equal par with my family. My family doesn't know my identity as Polly, you know, so they don't know any of that stuff. And I can't tell them because that's leverage that's going to kill them.
Yeah, and we've already seen how dangerous it is to people who know who you really are. When Tyra got
the Tyra, and the thing is like one of my backgrounds, like my most valued, like how I view people, I most value a friend, and I didn't know how that was going to flesh out. It turns out it's going to be Vox. Every single time that Vox got hurt, Polly was fucking pissed. That somebody was gunning for him, but just as equally now has been he got hurt trying to get him, you know, Z and I trying to stabilize him. I'm pulling shrapnel out of his throat. I'm fixing his cyber shit.
He gets grenaded. He gets shot.
Right.
Seriously, bubble wrap and Kevlar. I am not shitting you.
And the whole thing is like I've never really thought about it, but depending on how everything goes, I mean, Polly could end up falling for Vox, and just because of our role play and how we're doing shit and whatever. So like right now, Polly's staying back and whatever. Yes, she's really concerned. She won't admit it. He's her favorite. But there's Tyra, and him and Tyra, I mean, maybe they're a thing. I don't know. I'm not gonna.
You can't
His
fall
business.
for Vox. You have to fall for Max. Mom and Dad, damn it.
Can't get involved because whatever.
Tyra doesn't have a love life right now because she gets blown up and shot at. So she'll look at it in a bit.
And the fact that Vox is a creeper,
a total creeper.
Well, that's all a show for Vox. That just goes with the Rockabye theme.
Tyra's first impression of Vox was, "Fuck this dude, he's weird." Because you were specifically messing with her during the show for El Sangre.
Yeah, it was.
But the reason
she wound up our manager.
Vox isn't pursuing anything romantically right now because Vox is totally consumed by his hatred of corporations, Continental specifically. He's completely consumed by it. That's where his argument to Max came from. It's like, listen, this is just giving me more. This is making me more angry, so I'm gonna play on it so Max.
Whereas Z was definitely going, fuck these guys. They fucking tried to take something that's mine, and I will fuck them up.
So in the whole when Max came with his argument, like my family, the whole reason why I am running on top of being in a band that's so anti-corp and my family's on the street is because when Continental separated from Petrochem in the middle of the night, and the Hall family was partially instrumental with that, my parents lost their jobs, lost everything. Got blamed for not knowing this shit was going down, and they got blamed by Petrochem for not alerting them, and they weren't taken along with everybody that went to this. So like, anti-corp, but Continental, a special white fiery hatred.
Yeah, I think the band has grown a bit in terms of how you guys approach stuff, but you're getting a lot more direct now too in some cases.
A lot more ballsy, I would say.
Yeah, so as a group, how do you guys see the band going forward in your wars against the corpse? Because
we're gonna die.
You guys have your list of songs, but now you have actual targets as well. You've caused 2 Continental riots, the death of 1 Continental manager, well, demoted manager, and now...
No, he was no longer working. He was fired.
Oh, that's right. He got fired for the last run. Yeah.
And
but you still ruined careers.
Ruined his life, and
you've ruined
in essence,
careers.
Drove him down the path to kill him.
You've basically been really on the warpath about Continental. You have a bone to pick with DM Brands now. That's subsidiary of DMS, Digital Media Solutions. Are you at all concerned as a group about getting in the pocket of a corp while you wage your war?
Yeah.
Yes and no. Yes, because absolutely Vox is vulnerable enough in his hatred, if they play on it correctly, to be duped. For sure. You can use his hatred as a tool to get him and the band, thus the band, kind of towards their end. No, because regardless of how deep legally I am in with a corp, I will not hesitate to burn that bitch down. Okay. That's how deep the hatred runs. So,
well, and to be fair, somebody brought it up earlier
tonight. To be fair,
for all we know, Mr. White could be an employee of a corp.
Absolutely.
That's funding our shit. Like, that is a thing that is very possible. Someone who's running so far under the radar because they work with that corporation, and the best place to keep something that is so damning to the corporation is right under their nose. That's why we chose Haywood.
But the thing is that until last session, I thought it was Yona.
Mr. White?
Yes.
Yeah, no, that wouldn't have been Yona.
Really? That would have been an interesting fucked up twist.
I think I am still firmly of the belief, and have been since day one, since White made his appearance, is that that avatar is a cover for somebody who is who's a net runner.
Oh, absolutely.
Who's either, I thought it was Yona, obviously it's not. So
She did.
I
She
don't
did.
think, I still am not, I'm not convinced that it's an AI.
It could be her father.
That's a possibility. I don't think it's an AI. I think it is somebody high up in the corp that's either doing this. And now I'm thinking that there's two possibilities. I thought for first it was who's got a grudge so bad against Continental that they're going to do this.
Us.
Or two, the alternate, which I started thinking more and more has a possibility, is are they just doing this for kicks?
Could be.
That
Could
would be
very
a hacker
short
way to
number.
look at it.
You know,
Let's just burn it down.
Because Ray exposed me to altered carbon, like that's very meth behavior.
That is very meth behavior.
Sure.
Sure, that is definitely.
Yeah. Well, we may already, I mean, even if it's not Mr. White, like one of the things that I've been thinking of going along the lines of being in the pocket of a corp, we may already be. Like our actions could already be being manipulated to somebody's end that we don't know.
Oh,
I mean,
guaranteed
DM
it
was
already
already DM was already trying.
But I mean, where the group goes from here, I see this game ending in one of two ways. Either we die, because we just stay in the game too long, and eventually what happens is there's too much notoriety, you take too many risks, you attract too much attention, and it goes wrong and you die.
Absolutely.
Or we choose to live, and what that entails is the way I think that we would do it if we were going to retire, so to speak, is what's the big score? Like, what's the end game? Like, what's the big heist that we can go out on
It's
that
the
can cause enough damage to then, okay, leave, either fake our deaths or just kind of fade into obscurity, and then we've left behind this act that we've done, this huge heist that we've done, and a catalog of music behind as like a legacy. And then, hey, maybe in 10 years, 5 years, 10 years, whatever, we resurface under new identities and start the cycle all over again. But like this incarnation of like who we are and what we're doing, we're on borrowed time either way.
Oh, yeah,
for sure,
100%.
for sure.
Well, you can
We
only
were
push
always
so far
destined.
before you
Yes.
kind of get the pushback.
were-
Right
So
before corps will start acting out directly, they won't be covert anymore because you're too much
Yeah.
of a problem.
Even the
Absolutely.
first iteration where we first said we want to be this punk metal band that's all about fuck the corpse, we all fucking knew starting. We're like, we're gonna fucking die.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
We're
yeah,
gonna
burn
sneak
hot.
out and they're
We're
gonna
gonna burn
fucking
hot
ice
first
couple
us.
early.
sessions, 100%.
Oh yeah.
The ending is going to be us being killed.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well,
or
we'll
going
see.
out in a blaze of glory.
Well, we'll
Right.
see. You guys have 4 get out of
could-
death free cards right now. That you guys could survive some shit.
We all
I
think
mean, it's either
Zeppelin
they
Johnny
go-
if you
Silverman.
die, I plan on
either-
it being fucking glorious.
Oh,
sir.
yeah, it'll be
absolutely.
great.
Fucking
It'll be
live
great.
I mean,
Yeah.
either we're dying or we're going to have a flotilla of Zeppelins that are going to destroy the corporation. One of the two.
So
Right.
Possibly
a
both.
coordinated Zeppelin.
I've
explosion.
already got
Zeppelin
I've already got the outline of the season 2 arc set up. So we'll see where you guys go with that. But I think this has been a good talk. Like, it gave some really interesting insight to see how some characters have changed, some have kind of doubled down, and where the band is kind of looking at things. And that was our little discussion about characters. It was actually really kind of fun. We went on to talk about a couple other non-related things, so that's why we kind of cut things a little abruptly, so apologies for that. But we hope you guys enjoyed this little insight into the characters, where they're at, where they think they're going, and when you compare what they think is ahead to what actually happened at the end of the game, how close do you guys think they were? Let us know down in the comments, and we'll see you guys next game.